The debt ceiling passed its first hurdle in the House and now heading to the Senate. Well, if it does pass, the agreement will lift the pause on student loan payments, meaning that come the fall, millions of Americans are going to resume their monthly payments. And this may come as a shock to some, especially some Gen Zers who might not have any experience with paying their student debt just yet. Let's talk about how to do this and the best way to budget for this. For that, we want to bring in Taylor Price, a.k.a. Priceless Taylor, TikTok finance influencer. Taylor, it's great to have you here at the desk. So talk to us just about how so many people who haven't had to worry about student debt payments for so long, for about just over 3 years, what's the best way to budget for this, given the fact that they could be spending $200, $300, $400 a month on this now?
Yeah, so I like to think about finances generally with a money map. So if we think about our finances, you can imagine that we need to track our cash flows. So we need to understand the lay of the land. And so the next portion of this would be the 50-20-30 method. 50% goes to needs, 20% goes to wants, and 30% goes to savings. And lastly would be to start spending smarter, get savvy. So many Americans nowadays are spending on their credit cards and on their debit cards, and especially for young people, we're not really using cash. So there are deals, discounts, and offers that many Americans aren't even aware of. So they're leaving money on the table, but we need to all get our money's worth during this time.
So when I was a young person, a Gen Z person many years ago, it was impossible for me to save, let alone invest. And I wish I had invested more. What kind of tips do you have, like concrete tips for people to say, actually, here, you can use this little bit of money, get in the market, just start something small to get that ball rolling. What do you say to that?
That's exactly right. Albert Einstein says compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. And yes, it most definitely is. By the time that once you start at 18 versus the time you look at 59 and a half, if you're investing in a Roth IRA, that can make you $1 million using dollar cost averaging just going into the S&P 500. And if we're looking into today's economy, a lot of people now are questioning, well, is this the right time? And a lot of younger people as too, when it comes into student loans and should I get into the stock market versus not? And what I really have to say about that is that compound interest, again, is the eighth wonder of the world. The stock market has continuously rebounded time and time again. So as long as we're dollar cost averaging and putting a little bit every single week or every single month, that money will come out substantially over the long term.
Taylor, what are you hearing from your followers just in terms of where things are today? We have so many layoffs. There was just a report out from a Challenger Gray and Christmas this morning showing that layoffs are up nearly 300% this year compared to where they were at the same time last year. And given the fact that people are facing high inflation, are they able to invest at this point?
I like to bring it back to this concept that I have called the money tree method, where it all starts with your mindset. You have your growth mindset planting that money tree versus a scarcity mindset where you don't really believe that you can achieve certain outcomes. And so when you think about the money tree, then you start growing your roots. These are your emergency funds and your long-term savings. So for those who just recently had layoffs, this financial storm would actually have them rooted into the ground. From there, you have your trunk or your primary source of income. That tree, just like any other, can be protected with bark or insurance. So if something happens to you, let's say a car accident or something that is the unpredictable at the end of the day, that bark or that insurance will help you stay protected. And then we get to the top of the money tree, and that is the branches or different investments, turning your side hustle into your full-time business like it did for me, or investing in the stock market, investing in real estate. And you can think of these branches aren't necessarily as strong as that trunk or financial core, your primary source of income, but they can make that quote, like all Gen Zers love to see, make money when you sleep, that passive income versus that active income. And this is really where we see the money leaves.
You touched on real estate, and for your followers who have some money, younger, looking at that renting versus buying option, with rates the way they are you sort of focused on them saying, hey, maybe you want to rent right now, or is it always a good time to buy?
This is one of those questions where personal finance is personal. I just went through the home buying experience a few years ago when mortgage interest rates were lower. I recently sold my house, but it all depends on your goals. So for renting, are you looking to travel, have more flexibility, not have much overhead when it comes to having a house emergency? Because I definitely had a lot of house emergencies before. Or are you looking to build equity in a home? And so these are the things that Gen Zers really have to consider. And again, when it comes to potentially a $400 monthly average bill coming up in September, we want to take into consideration if getting a mortgage is the right thing to do right now or not. And so it all really depends on the individual's affordability circumstances.
It's certainly important to evaluate all the options. Taylor Price, great to have you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.